this hatchback is going to be the same as any sedan, car, truck. The difference is, so which way do the windows curve on a roll down window? They curve one way, right, like this. These back windows, they curve up and down and side to side. So with our film, we have factory edges, right? So which way do I shrink our film?
Factory edge, factory edge.
Factory to factory, so it's up and down. We cannot shrink outside because it's going to burn the film. So our setup is going to be a little bit differently. So when we shrunk the side, we shrunk it, it's called wet shrink, right? So we do a different kind of shrink on this window. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take steel wool and we're going to prep our window. So we're going to spray it all down. If you have one of these guys, I'm going to pull it straight out of the way. Now I'm going to rub steel wool all over my window to make sure it's 100% clean. Why do we want to do this on these back windows? Typically dirty. There's lots more sand, dirt, and all that kind of stuff on these back windows. Now we're going to squeegee it out. Take a cloth and I'll wipe everything down. I'm going to do one more spray, squeegee spray, just to make sure that 100% clean. But anything that film can touch, we want to wipe it down. Most of your dirt is going to stay up at the very top, so make sure you wipe down all of that. Now we have one more spray, squeegee spray. Let's do a nice little spray. Wipe it all down. Now on the side windows, we do what's called a wet shrink. We want to do dry shrink on these windows. So we have downy towels here. So does everyone know what these guys are? Put these in the dryer to make your clothes smell nice. There's actually a little bit of soap on them. So I'm going to wet this down. We want the soap to come off this onto the back window. So I'm going to wipe this downy sheet on the back window. All of it needs to be 100% covered. Now on these back windows, we're doing what's called a dry shrink. Because remember, we talked about the window curves this way and the window curves up this way. We don't want the film sticking to the window. You guys do the side windows, we wet it, it gets stuck to the window. We want the film to be on top of the window, get that shape without actually getting stuck to the window. Does that make sense? So when this is drying, what do? What should we do when we're letting this dry out?
Inside prep. Inside prep.
So I want to get the inside all ready to go. So now on the inside of this vehicle, we have these heat lines. They damage very, very easily. So you never want to use a razor blade on these back windows. So how can you clean these back windows without damaging them?
Spray, spray. Oh.
Steel will, so drupal zero, steel will. So spray it down here, and I'm going to steel wool the entire back window. Now the only thing with steel wool can leave some particles. You really need to make sure we clean it afterwards. We want to get all the dirt off that steel wool. So I'm going to spray it, and I'm going to squeegee it out. Wipe everything down. After I do that, what do? So what kind of prep do we do that mimics the side windows we've done? So we steel wooled it. What's next?
Spray.
Spray. So I'm going to spray the window and I'm going to flush the sides. We want to make sure we got all those steel wool fiber particles off. We want to make sure that this window is 100% clean. And wipe down anything that the film can touch. While you're doing this, it should be pretty dry on the outside of the window. So to me, it still looks a little wet. So just take my heat gun, I'm gonna dry it out. Any questions so far?
Yeah, high or low?
Have it on.
Do you want all that soap on there? All the
You
time?
want that soap on there, so you want a light, you guys can see that white soap on there. You want that soap so the film doesn't stuck to the window. So you're still gonna take shape of the back window because it's so curved, it's not gonna get stuck to the back window. Okay? Has to be completely dry. So the secret to a back window is making sure your setup is 100%. Now we're gonna lay our film. So because it's completely dry, I'm gonna do a line here and a line here. Mr. Film? Can't take these out. Now we're going to lay our film out. Side to side. I want to make sure that this is set up properly here. So I'm bring it up all the way so we're flat. Just like that. Now we're having a little bit of excess here. I'm just going to cut this off. It's not reaching the very top. So now we have full coverage. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off any excess. Right around this guy here, and lay it flat. Okay? So we're going to make sure that we have full coverage here, so everything needs to be covered around the window. Our first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do a rough cut. So anything that's not on the glass, I'm just going to cut it and get rid of it. So our goal is to make sure that this is totally flat on the glass. So I'm going to place my hand in the center, lift this side up, and I'm pull it so it's straight. Same thing with the side here. And come on the other side and pull it straight across. Now, what we're going to do here is probably the most important part of the back window. You guys can see that this line is already starting to form in the center. So I'm going to take my hard card and I'm going to reinforce that line. Then I'm going to push down this way and reinforce these side lines. Okay? So what letter am I making here?
H.
H. So we're making the letter H in this pattern. You guys already see that? So we have straight across the center, down here. So like we talked about before, which way does film shrink?
Down.
Factory edge to factory edge. It cannot shrink to the side. If you add heat to the side, it's going to burn. So when I push up here, we're driving all those fingers that would come out this way to the side. Okay? Now we built up 4 quadrants. So I have quadrant 1 here, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. What does that represent? What does that bring? What does that look like we learned yesterday? Roll down windows. So here, what is that letter?
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to work on this as it's 4 roll down windows. So we're breaking this up. So window 1, window 2, window 3, window 4. So your goal is to make sure that you flatten out window 1, get a trunk and shape in the window. Does that make sense? Once you finish this whole quadrant, move on to the next quadrant. Where guys get intimidated with this, they see all these figures and it looks really daunting and overwhelming. If you break it up into 4 quadrants, it's easier than it looks. This model works on any sedan, anything we do here. Just make sure you build your H, all your fingers are moved so they're vertical from factory edge to factory edge. Now, our fingers are kind of spread out here, so I'm just going to run my fingers through them to break them up. Because again, we want to make sure that they're vertical and going up and down. Okay? So keep asking me the heat gun. So with this, we're going to do 3 shrinks. I'm going to do a pre-shrink, a shrink, and a post-shrink. So I don't want you guys just to go straight into a hard card. What we're going to do is just like we shrunk the side windows. That's what we do roll down windows yesterday. Then we break it down into this. Outside, across, working in inch sections. So here, I roll a heat and press down lightly. So I count to 3 seconds, and I'm going to push straight down. My goal here is to get it somewhat flat, so I'm not taking my white hard card and driving through these giant fingers. So just making it easier for you guys. Once you get good at shrinking, you can jump right to this step. So we're going to shrink. Exact same way we did side windows. 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, push down. Come back to this side. And come back and make sure everything is flat. Does it look flat? Yeah. So we're going to pre-shrink, get it kind of shaped to the glass. Shrink with the hard card. Once I get it flat, what will I do?
Shrink.
No, I'm going to move it to my next quadrant. Okay? So once this is done, move to our next quadrant. So same thing. We're from outside, cross, 3 seconds of heat, push up. Push up. Once I get it, it's somewhat flat now. Now we do a hard card. Does it look flat? Next step, what do? Next quadrant. So you're just going to work on, all I want you to focus on is 1 quadrant at a time. If you start shrinking this whole thing, you'll get overwhelmed a little bit. Same thing. 3 seconds, push down. 3 seconds, push down. We're just doing a slight forming to the window. Okay, now take our hard card. You guys have any questions so far? So we're shrunk. Next step, what do we do? We're going to cut it first. So the way we cut it is that there's a dot matrix around the actual window. So we're going to follow that dot matrix. So you guys can come over here and see this window. We have a dot matrix. Can you see that? So we're going to cut a quarter inch past that dot matrix. So all we're doing is cutting. So here, I'll lift it up so I can see slightly because it is a little bit darker with tint. Can we see that dot matrix through here? So I'm just going to put my So we've trimmed it. What do we do next?
Inside correctly?
No, we do one more shrink. So we did a dry shrink on this. So we just got it slightly shaped to the glass. Now we want to make sure this is 100% formed to the glass. And lift it up and spray it in. So now we're going to do a hybrid wet shrink. So I want the more work you do on the outside, the less you have to do on the inside once it's on. So what pattern am I going to follow?
H.
H. So with my white hard card, I'm going to reinforce that H pattern again. Is there any questions so far? Or? So now I go through my quadrants. Your job here is to make sure it's 100% trimmed. So if you have any fingers that are popping up here, they're going to pop up on the inside. We don't want you bringing in heat guns and stuff on the inside. You don't have to. So again, my first quadrant is going to be here. Then I come through and to make sure that nothing is popping up. So you saw a few fingers that are popping up here. So look at that. How do we look? Good.